There is a reason why I always go to the Dollar Tree to get my supplies. That's because it's cost friendly for crafters and they have some really great quality things there to work on a crafter's budget. In today's episode, we're going to be making some of my favorites that I've done throughout this year to wrap up the end of 2024. The projects are easy to follow and fun to create. All right, now let's get crafting. They have these beautiful canister jars, and I loved the size of this glass. Now we're going to put that lid to the side because we're not going to be using that on this project. But I love this glass jar because jars like this are super high-end at super expensive high-end home decor stores. So I'm going to show you how we're going to get that look without having to pay those ridiculous prices. This jar was $1.25. So go ahead and take your painter's tape. And you can see here that I've got probably about a third of the jar at the bottom that I'm going to be leaving exposed. But from the rest up, the other 2/3, I'm going to cover that up with some painter's tape, take it outside, spray paint it a beautiful crisp satin white. Once that is nice and dry and you took off the painter's tape, go ahead and pick whatever floral you want. I'm going to be using some of these Real Touch tulips because I just love these things. I'll link them down below, but I just get mine from Amazon. Go ahead and gather them together in a cluster. As I work with them, I like to kind of zigzag the stem a little bit. That makes them look more realistic and falling all over the place in that beautiful jar we just gave some life to. Then go ahead and tie on a beautiful bow. I'll link this ribbon down below. I love this ribbon too. These tiles have been so popular from the Dollar Tree, and there's all kinds of projects out there, but I wanted to do something special with it today that I hope you'll give a try. Go ahead and cut off that outer flat rim. That's going to release the adhesive strip on the back side. We don't need that adhesive strip, so go ahead and cut all the way around the tile, remove the adhesive strip, and then we're going to paint it 2 coats of white paint. I'm going to come in with my brush just real quick. Make sure you smooth out the paint around those bumpy edges. It'll take longer to dry if you don't. I'm going to use my heat gun in between those 2 sessions. I'm going to dry it, come back in with some more white paint, and then dry it once again. Once everything has been dried and it's nice and white, go ahead and take some brown and black paint combo, and we are going to dry brush across the surface. Now this is the part that's really popular, everybody's been doing, but we're going to turn it into something really special. Once you've got that texture nice and raised and it just has that farmhouse French country look, go ahead and take that tile, once it's dry, flip it over, and we're going to fold it into almost like an envelope. Fold down the sides, making sure they overlap a little bit. You're going to have to make sure you kind of push past that one line detail on the tile to get a nice fold. And then we're going to glue that into place because we are going to be making a darling pocket to put some florals or whatever you want to put inside of it, honestly, for your doorknobs, for a hook in your house. It's going to be so cute when we're done. Once you've got that glued into place, go ahead and cut it in half, or you could leave it long. You could use this in a kitchen and put all kinds of wooden spoons in it. Oh, that could be so cute too. I like to use some popsicle sticks at the bottom because this is going to help it lock into place since it's got all that texture and bumpy grooves in it. Go ahead and put 2 popsicle sticks on opposite sides of it once you get that hot glue in there. And then go ahead and use some clips, these crafting clips that I use here from the Dollar Tree, and then just clip right onto that wood popsicle stick. That's going to help it lock into place all that glue in between all those little crevices. Then go ahead and remove it. Punch 2 holes out. I'm using my Crop-A-Dile. And then I'm going to feed in some wire here, and I'm just going to simply twist, twist, twist until I get all the way around, coiled up the handle part of this wire. And then I'm going to come over onto the other side and do the same thing so we can create a nice hang-up wire on this darling, darling tile little hang-up basket. I think these are so cool because you can fill them with all kinds of stuff, especially if you keep them long and not cut it in half. Like I said, you can fill it with wooden spoons. You can fill it with so many fun things. And you can make it even bigger and thicker depending on how many tiles you want to glue together. It's all up to you, and the options are endless. Now we want to make sure the pocket stays open, so go ahead and put some paper towels, glue those down in there, and then I'm going to come in with some Spanish moss. I'm going to glue that in there, and then after I've got my Spanish moss all glued in, now you can decide what florals you want to use. For the spring and summertime, I just think it's so beautiful. These lavender, salvia, floral stems that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue a couple of those down in there with the 2 different tones of purple. And then to give it that farmhouse flair, I'm going to take one of these little wooden garden tags and I'm going to glue that right onto the front. This is such a beautiful way to get the look, and it's so cost friendly. For this project, we're going to be taking 3 of these crates and 4 of these tall glasses. Now, do you remember those tall candles? They have started selling the vases without the wax candles in them, which is so awesome. These are actually over in the floral section and over by the home stuff, like the home decor things. So it could also be by those candles that have the picture of the Savior on it. So go ahead and tape off your glass at halfway in the middle of it. And while those are outside drying, because I spray painted them white, we're going to go ahead and take these 3 boxes and we're going to glue them together. Once I've used some wood glue and some hot glue, because we want to make sure we're using that wood glue in there too for that long-term hold, I went ahead and took some dark brown paint and I'm going to just brush that all over my box. This is going to give such a beautiful farmhouse French country look to it. Once that is all dry, and as well as the glass jars, go ahead and take off that painter's tape, put in some foam. I glued everything down in there, even, yes, the glass jars, because I'm not going to really put real water in this. I'm just going to always put faux flowers, and I have cats in my house and I don't want them to knock these over. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue down in some boxwood and some Spanish moss, and then inside these glass jars I can display some beautiful florals for whatever season and switch it out all year long. I was online the other day. I love the site Antique Farmhouse, and I came across this beautiful artwork, but I did not want to pay $58 for it. So I headed to the Dollar Tree and picked up some supplies. We're going to make it today for just $7. Now we're going to be using caulk that you can find in the home improvement section, 3 tubes of it, as well as one of these wood art canvases that are $3 in their Dollar Plus section. We're going to start by creating the vessel or the vase first. Now, if you don't feel comfortable freehanding this, you can always sketch it on with a pencil, and I'm going to show you how I do that with all the florals and the stems in just a second. But first I want you to see that yes, we are going to be getting our hands messy with this one, but I promise you it's so therapeutic and so much fun. Oh my word, this project is so much fun if you love anything along the lines of painting and getting your hands dirty. So we're going to go ahead and take a pencil and sketch out a rough draft of what we want our florals to look like, which directions they're heading. Make sure to fill up the space of the art canvas, but don't forget to leave some open areas like our inspiration. It wasn't too heavy in every single spot, so we want to try to replicate that. Now you can see that the tips of these caulking tubes are different sizes. One is a little bit thinner and one is a little bit thicker. This is because we want to treat them almost like frosting tips when you're frosting a cake. It's going to give you the different shapes that you need, thicknesses, to be able to create those smaller areas versus thicker areas. Now you can see here I'm coming in with that thinner tip and I'm creating all of the branches, and I have a glass of water next to me. Caulk can be very sticky and after a while your hands will be totally messy. So keep some water on you and some wipies and then just keep playing with it. You can see I'm patting it down to make it look more branch-like. Now I'm going to move on to the florals. The florals are whatever pattern you want to do, and you can use any kind of tools on this that you have, some scrapers, maybe toothpicks, but generally I'm just going to use my hand, my fingers. So you can see that I'm coming in first with the initial shape, and then I'm going to scrape out anything from the middle that is too thick because we want to be able to see the texture of those petals. Then I'm going to come back in and pat down the different areas, dragging the caulk into the middle to create the outer rim thicker and the inner part of the flower thinner. Play around with it. This is so much fun creating these flowers. There are so many different flowers out there you can create with this project. And then for the buds, I'm just simply making dots and then coming back in and smoothing them as well with some water. Now I'm at the point where I'm going to make salvia or lavender, whichever one you want to call this. They kind of have the same shape. I'm going to just basically put a dot and drag, put a dot and drag. And as I'm dragging, I'm making it get smaller and smaller towards the very tip of it. And the drags also get longer. So you want to make sure you're stretching it out as you're coming up towards the tip of that flower. This makes the coolest texture, and all we're doing are making dots and dragging the caulk. Isn't this just so crazy? When you see the light hit it in different directions, it looks like real flowers. Now I'm moving on to the leaves. This is the third tube of caulk. I ended up cutting this one at an angle for the tip. This is going to allow me to be able to create more of that leaf pattern, but again, using the straight smaller hole of the tip works as well. Now, whenever I had a spot that went out too far I didn't like, I'm just going to use the back of my nail and scratch along the board and mimic the caulk wherever I want it to go. That's going to allow you to be able to clean it up and make it still look nice and beautiful the way you want it to. Now you're going to notice that on my vase or vessel, whatever you want to call it, I did not end up putting a rim on the pot yet, and that's because I wanted to make sure I allowed a flower to be in front of it so that it had that layered look, and then I'm going to come in on the sides and create that rim. Now make sure you don't make everything too thick in here. I didn't want it to be standing up so high, so I'm taking out some that is too thick in certain areas. I want to get the shape and the thickness right, so just play with this part until you get it to the way you personally like it to look, and then don't be afraid to edit, meaning take away caulk if it's too much. Now we're going to go ahead and create the center of our flowers, which is a simple dot. And I'm going to just, again, come back in with my water, manipulate it so that it's looking the right shape, size, texture. And once it has dried, friends, this is the most important, crucial thing. Make sure it is completely dry, because you're going to come back in with a large paintbrush and you're going to paint the whole thing white. You could honestly paint it whatever color you want. You could do black too and come back in with a dry brushing white technique. Oh, that could be so beautiful too. So once it's all completely dry and you've gone over it with the white paint or whatever color you choose, go ahead and make sure you use a heat gun. Keep it moving around, dry it the way you need it to so it's completely dry. And now we're going to come in with a dry brush technique. This part is so exciting because all of your work starts to rise and look just like our inspiration. I had a blast making this project. I have so many more things I'm going to be making on my channel using these techniques, but I hope you give this one a try. So this is what mine is looking like around this point. Now let's look at our inspiration. Again, remember this was $58 and we made ours for $7. I love creating a beautiful home out of budget-friendly items to work with, whether it's from the Dollar Tree or a thrifted item, or maybe even making over something you already had in your home and it just needed a facelift. I hope that these ideas today really inspire you to look around your space and craft with those type of items to do it on a budget and to create a beautiful home for you and your family. If you enjoyed this episode, please do consider clicking the subscribe button. Thanks so much for stopping by, and until the next episode, bye friends.